And good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us again on the Morning Waffle. We've got better looking Chris this morning. Jim Farrell, my friend here from No BS. But Jim Farrell's joining the show today, and we'll talk to him right after this.
Will's talking about his beer.
We were making fun of the I don't know, Majestic Epic beer that I no longer have, and the fact that I will never bring it back because, I don't know, I liked it at the time, but as I look back on the pictures, I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe that
went too far.
Maybe that went too, like most things I get involved in, I've got to take it a bit too far, and then maybe if I'm lucky, I can dial it back. So this is dialed back.
Good morning, Beth.
Hey, Beth, glad you're here.
Cool. Well, hey, Jim, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I don't know this guy at all.
Yeah, it's like you guys met 10 minutes ago.
Yes.
So
yes.
I've known Jim for probably 20 years, I think.
At least since
that,
your time at the Greene County Prosecutor's Office.
That's right.
At least.
So Jim was a law enforcement officer. I think you were a detective.
Oh, you've seen some fun stuff then.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And so, Jim was a detective with the Greene County Sheriff, and I was a prosecutor, and we met back then and just have kind of stayed in touch over the years. And
that's cool.
He has, and I want everybody to know this, so we'll talk about it right up front. He has a podcast started, about a year and a half, 2 years ago?
June was 2 years.
June was 2 years.
Yes. Oh, nice.
So it's called good. No BS with Jim Farrell.
What's it about? I don't understand.
No BS.
Is there BS?
There is no BS.
You know, I mean, it's almost ironic because that's really all it is a couple people sitting there BSing, right?
What?
I mean,
I don't know
we just sit and
that.
have conversations.
We have no idea what that would be like.
We've never done that before.
No, not at all. No.
Jim reached out, and I got to be a guest on his podcast a few weeks ago.
It was really good.
That's
Me.
cool.
Well, thanks. And so that episode will be coming out pretty soon. And you've had other Rogersville folks on there. Louis Michael is your current episode.
Yes.
He's already getting a shout out. Look at this. We've got our fans are his fans.
Our fans are your fans.
Hey, Leanne.
That's cool. That's awesome. Very cool.
Louis Michael is the last episode that you released.
Yes.
Rogersville guy.
Yes.
Been part of K-ROG here at Plant 417 in the past. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So you did law enforcement. That was your thing over the years.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
I did 20 years with Greene County Sheriff's Office, and now I'm with Springfield Public Schools with their police department.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Good for you. I'm a big fan of the school police resource officers. Is that what they're called?
SROs.
Yes, you nailed it.
I'm a big fan of those. I think that's a wonderful thing to have in our schools, and we have several in Rogersville, really good guys, too.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Mark Hall, I'm sure you remember Mark.
Mark and I worked together.
And Steve Kaiser, he was SPD.
Yep.
And Steve and I worked together because Steve worked with Springfield Public Schools for a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
They're
Steve's
good guys.
Steve's a good dude.
Steve's good people, for
Yep,
sure.
very cool.
Well, thanks for coming today.
No, thanks for having me. This is really cool. I mean, because if folks saw my setup, they'd know I just went amateur. I went from the amateur or single A status. I'm up in triple A right now. So,
well, I don't know about that, but no, you got a good following on your show. You got some swag. I asked you to bring some, but it's all gone.
Yeah, we're all out.
That's good.
We're up for new orders. Surprisingly, as you folks can guess, or at least people that know me, the whiskey glasses and pint beer glasses went the
They
quickest.
They go quick.
Yes, they did.
We
That's
don't
fair.
have any swag here.
You guys got to get some swag, shirts or hats or
We
something.
need a
Hats would be
waffle
really cool.
keychain and hat. Ooh, I like hats too. That's
Hats
a good
would
a
be
idea.
waffle
cool.
keychain. That
I like
would,
waffle
that would be
keychains.
cool.
That would be-
Yeah,
might be
I just
cool.
like waffles a lot. I mean, just in
So
general.
the important thing when we picked a name, and I don't know about what you went through to decide on yours, Jim, but we specifically came up with this and then scoured the internet, including the Urban Dictionary, to make sure there weren't any unintended.
Yeah, about the.
You know that
You never know.
Consequences? Yeah.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
never
what,
know.
somebody might be using that phrase for something nefarious or something that like. I never would have thought that that's what Morning Waffle meant.
Right? No. And unfortunately, that has to be done now.
It does.
that's-
It does.
But at the time, 2-3 years ago, there wasn't anything out there. I don't know if somebody's invented something since, and now I'm afraid to ask because
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't dig down that rabbit hole.
Sometimes it's okay to be ignorant.
Yeah, when ignorance is
Isn't that
bliss, 'tis folly to be wise.
Yes.
Is the full. Yeah,
Oh,
that
wow.
English literature degree comes back every once in a while. Yeah.
For sure.
So, well, you're not completely retired then, but did you retire from Greene County?
I did. I had 20 years with them, and the opportunity came up to work at the schools in an administrative level.
That's awesome.
And I jumped, and it's been a good move for me. Challenging, different type of police
and lots
work.
of things have changed in that time frame that you have
Yes.
been in law enforcement in Greene County area.
Lots
Holy
of things
moly!
have changed. Yes.
Wow, we were talking about that yesterday. Just this is coming up like every day. Just the growth of this area, the different challenges that come along with that growth, and I think there's just lots of people flocking in. So
Yeah.
lots of people having conversations about that.
Yes.
And I think law enforcement and justice in general really suffers with the growth of a community.
Oh, I think so.
And
yeah.
I mean, you can look from a macro level and just look at places that have huge populations, Chicago, San Francisco, and you can just see just a wreck.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think Jim would probably say this, and I would say this, from looking really on the inside, just looking at the growth in someplace like Greene County, the way criminal justice was handled from 1996, 1997 when I started until now is so different.
Yes.
Oh, I can imagine.
As a
yeah.
lawyer, at least, I always felt like back then I had the ability to go and plead my case, whether I was a prosecutor or a defense attorney, to a judge or the opposing counsel, and they had the time to look at the case and look at the facts.
Yep.
We could talk about it, and we could come to the right answer for that case. And towards the end of my going to court, one of the reasons I didn't want to go anymore is that was over. Every case
It's a numbers game, right?
It was
Too many people.
Too many people, too many prosecutors, not too many, but too many new prosecutors.
Right.
You build relationships with people. There's a trust that's built,
Sure.
or a lack of trust. You know who
Right.
you can, you know who you can't trust. And if you were the right kind of lawyer that people could trust, you could go in and you could say,
Yeah.
this is what it is, and they would go, okay,
Okay, I believe
get
you.
that. And you lose that, and it became, for me, just frustrating to have to go continually and
Yeah, try to kind of plead your case, right?
try to plead your case, and nobody cares, and they're not
Yeah.
interested. They're just trying to move their docket.
That's very
Right.
frustrating.
And that happens on both sides, because I think that, for me, I'd have a client that I thought deserved a little special consideration, couldn't get it.
Right.
It's tough.
There may be a case that you're working that maybe, this is a bad dude.
Yeah.
Right.
He's not the, I know this is his first offense, but it's not his first offense. It's just the first time we've caught him.
Yes.
And he needs a little extra slap. You can't get it, because
Yeah.
there's the this is what we do mentality. So it's tough.
I mean, at least from my perspective anymore, everything has grown
Yep.
so rapidly. And I think when communities think of growth, right, they automatically go to the tangible things, the
Yeah.
infrastructure.
And the
That's a good
positives.
point. Yeah.
Right? Infrastructure, the things, what's it going to do for our tax base or whatever. And unfortunately, I think the criminal justice system kind of gets left behind in that.
It's a good point.
From all sides of the aisle, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, prosecutor, defense, law enforcement, and the reason, I think people forget that the reason that everything is so backed up, if you will, is law enforcement has tried to do an incredibly good job, and it's just the prosecutor's office and the defense attorneys and public defender's office have not been able to keep up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, I mean, how could they? I'd say there's always a catch-up game there when you have a big growth in an area. And correct me if I'm wrong here. I mean, my dad was an attorney for years. And prosecutor. And people don't understand, like, after court, everybody got together.
Yeah.
You know, there was, I don't think people understood that part of the court system, especially in small towns.
And
like,
I don't think that happens anymore either.
That's what I was wondering. I bet it doesn't.
It's pretty I've not heard of it. It used to be, there was a couple local establishments that every Friday, most of the judges, prosecutors, and defense attorneys would all go and there's a lot that can be solved over. I mean, I'm not saying alcohol is an answer, but there's a lot that can be solved with a bend
sometimes.
elbow.
Yeah,
right. I mean, just
humanizing each other. Yeah,
well, I know a local court. It wasn't Greene County, very close to there, very close to here, where on criminal day you go and in the law library would be there popcorn.
Yeah.
It was popcorn.
Yeah.
Something simple.
Yeah, popcorn. You go have popcorn, and you'd sit. The prosecutor was there. A lot of times the sheriff was there.
Yeah.
And the defense attorneys were there, and you'd bring your files. The files would be in there, and over popcorn, you'd work out everything. And then when you went to see the judge in court after that, the deals were already done.
Streamlined.
Yeah.
And it was. I get it. It's a backroom deal. I understand that.
Sure.
But all the players are there. It's not happening.
It's not secretive.
No, it's
right?
not secretive.
No.
I mean, it's just getting things done. And this wasn't the only place. I mean, I went to every courthouse in Southwest Missouri repeatedly for years, and it was that way basically everywhere. Even in Greene County, it would not be uncommon to take your files and go to a conference room with a prosecutor if you had several, and sit down and go, okay, what do you want to do on this one? What should we do on this one?
Well, I mean,
and get them
you
worked
almost
out.
have to do that.
Yeah,
like
you do.
you get to get something done. Well, at the same time, too, it reminds the parties involved that you guys really aren't against each other.
Right.
You're just doing your job.
Yes.
And you can get, and I'd say it's real hard to get things done in a courtroom where you don't have a relationship with the people who are working there. Right. I mean, the criminals are the criminals, and the people suing people are those people. But at the end of the day, everybody who works there has to work together. And I bet that doesn't happen anymore. Maybe it does. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know.
Probably not like it used to. Technology changes things too. You didn't.
That's what I think.
When I was a prosecutor, we didn't have email. At least email that worked outside the office.
Yeah.
I think we could internally email.
Yes.
And I just think of the idea that if I could call a prosecutor on the phone, but it's hit and miss. But realistically, it was face to face. We always talked face to face about our cases and getting them worked out. And now I'm confident that it's all email.
I would think so.
And we know from social media that those written electronic communications are vastly different than the face-to-face, eyeball-to-eyeball conversations.
Well, you don't get that personal aspect where you can interpret tone and things like that.
Exactly.
So people read into it. It's no different, I think. I mean, look at text messaging. I mean, we could take the criminal justice system out of it. And look at how many times, I can't tell you how many times I've texted my wife or a friend and went, did I piss you off?
That didn't sound right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, do I need to be sorry for something?
Yeah. I just, after every text message I send, I just said, I'm sorry. Just put it right on the text message.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Just put it, I'm sorry.
I know this. I might have to follow that protocol.
What I really will do is I'll use the emojis, just like a little smile, just like,
the
hey.
emoji does kind of help.
It can soften
lightens
everything.
it.
Lightens it just a little bit. But I've always thought recently and said the real problem with social media is it's gotten people used to the idea that they can say what they want without any fear of getting punched in the mouth.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
Mike Tyson said it.
Leanne, she's paralegal at a firm, and it's all email. We need to bring back the the whiskeys in the court, not in the courtroom, but you know what I mean, like after the gathering. At the
gatherings for sure.
Well, a lot of times it'd be at the judge's house in a small town or different places because there
and
may or may not be a bar.
I'm a huge proponent of email and text messaging. The written for business. I hate the phone call. I desperately hate the phone call.
He talks about this a lot. I think he doesn't like phone calls.
I don't either.
Yeah. And it was funny. Dave from Mountainside Outfitters made a post, and I can't remember who the guy is. It's one of those three guys that all look the same. It may be Ben Affleck. There's like Ben Affleck and a couple other guys that are basically the same dude.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. And it's him, and he's in a blue shirt. He's got a cigarette. He's just got this look of exasperation on his face. You seen that meme?
Yeah.
And it said the meme, it just says, "Hey, can I call you? It's easier to explain on the phone." It's just like, oh, and that's exactly how I feel. And so I actually wrote underneath it. I said, "Here's why." I say it's easier for you to do a phone call because what you're doing is you're now transferring your responsibility to clearly communicate your ideas to me to have to accurately understand and record your ideas. So it's easier for you, but it's harder for me.
The other party.
And it's, by the way, it's your obligation that you're putting out on me when you want to explain on the phone because it's easier. So if it's too much trouble for you to write it, it's too much trouble for me to listen to.
Yeah.
So just don't call me on the phone. Just if it's important, write it down and send it to me.
So I'm going to go in interviewer mode here for a second.
I like it.
I have to know your thoughts on reply all emails and group texts.
Oh,
because I hate them.
I am.
There's a time and a place, but it's not often.
I agree. I agree. That's exactly how I feel. I mean, and I just think we haven't thought through our algorithm or our rubric correctly for deciding when that happens.
Right.
I mean, if it's truly a group decision or I got a group of guys up together to go see John Wick 4.
Right.
Group text.
That works.
Group text.
Yeah.
For sure. I get that.
But if it's like, I can rants or whatever. I mean, the real issue is the reply all email is I didn't mean to hit reply all.
Yes.
Yeah, that's when it becomes.
That happen too.
That's when it then enters the legal system sometimes.
That's when the lawyers get involved.
No, here's my trick that I've learned, because sometimes in the various things that I do have to send an email to like 100 people. And I put all of those email addresses in the BCC.
Yeah, that's the way you do it.
And then someone can't accidentally reply all.
Yeah, that's the trick.
That is the trick.
You're the sender, and you make
That's
yourself.
smooth. I just thought of that.
You make yourself. You send it to you.
Yep.
And then you BCC all the people
Everybody
that you want
else,
to send it to.
and then they cannot accidentally reply all.
That works good.
Yes,
so
I've learned
there's
this.
your tip for the day, folks.
There you go.
BCC all your group
I'll
emails.
bill everybody later for that one.
Make your checks out to Planet 417.
Yes, yeah.
we got to pay the bills.
Oh man,
that's good. Cool. Well,
but no, very cool. So you've been doing a podcast for several years now.
Yes.
How often do you do it?
I release an interview. Well, the entire 2 years, I've released an interview every Monday, with the exception of one Monday.
That's a big commitment.
Yeah,
that's
it
big.
has been, but the easy part is I do it after hours. I do all the interviews after work hours in the evening. And as Will knows, you can save it, and I actually download it to a distribution site.
That's cool.
And schedule the release. So like right now, I've got releases set up, and they're all ready to go through mid-September.
Oh, great!
So
you're like on top of it.
Yeah,
that's good.
He's a pro.
He is a pro.
Yeah,
I'm just having fun with it. Honestly, it's a hobby that I love. It's just fun.
That's cool.
This is a hobby that got way out of hand. Is what this is.
Right? Never stopped.
No, I love this though. This is really cool.
Yeah. Never stop. Well, that's very cool. And so you get your guests on, you release one every week, it's a lot. People don't understand how much it takes to do content, right? They don't get that. So do you do all your own editing on it?
There's no editing.
No, I like it. No. I like the non-edited.
Surprisingly, you say that. I get a lot of feedback. Folks are like, keep it raw.
Yeah, I like that.
Because like I have a table that we do it on, and Will knows. And if you tap the table, it comes through on the recording.
I was going to say,
boom.
you gave me the privilege of listening to mine ahead of time, which has not been released yet. But I'm like, oh, I'm tapping the table.
Yes.
And then in Louis' episode, I can hear him tapping the table. I was going to tell you, they actually make a little sound dampener.
A table tapper?
Go under that microphone. That might help. And
there we go.
I may have one around here, and if I do, I'll give it to you.
Okay. And if not, I'll find it. I'm sure my wife will find it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Your wife's like, this has been driving me crazy. She's like already got one ordered. It just happened.
I've been asking people this because I'm interested. So Amazon popular. Have you discovered, or has your wife discovered Temu yet?
I don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
Oh wow, TEMU. Scary. It's scary. It's not scary. It's highly addictive.
Is it a shopping platform also?
It's a shopping platform. It works just like Amazon, but you're buying essentially cheap crap direct from China. Like literally,
we don't need that crap.
Literally,
have you ever met me? This is like my manifestation of everything that's wrong with the world is all of the cheap crap that comes from China.
But it's like stuff is like, oh yeah, that's like $1. That's like $3. Like all this stuff, and it's so cheap. It's just crazy.
My blood's
There's a $10 order minimum, but like for $10, you're getting like all kinds of stuff.
You don't need that. Will, stop it.
You should check it out. It's pretty interesting.
I literally picked up a glow stick necklace that I'm not sure how it got to my house. I picked it up as I was walking out. Where did this come from? Why is it here? It's going to go in the trash. And then I'm like raging in my head about the single-use plastics. I'm not a hippie. Don't worry. It's just my weird thing.
I'm good with it either way, honestly.
Oh, my gosh.
So you've interviewed a lot of people. Let me just ask, you can't say me. Who is your favorite?
Oh, that's a hard question.
Wow, that is. I'm going to go politically correct here and say my wife.
Oh, very smart. That's
Good answer.
That's smart.
Yep, that's a good answer.
And I listened to her episode as well. That was good. And you had Sheriff Arnott on there.
I did, and that was really cool because of the friendship, right? I tapped into a friendship. I'm like, if I'm going to start this thing, maybe I ought to start it with a little bit of the closest thing to a bang I can pull off, which is somebody that's really well known. And he came on, he definitely shared his insights on some things, and how he's sheriffed and just the transition in law enforcement.
Hey, Emma.
Well,
Here's this is like a
10,000
pack glow stick necklace for $2.24.
Good grief. You know, I've not lived in Greene County for a while now, so I don't pay too much attention. Well, I don't watch that much news, but Arnott is really good about putting himself out there and communicating.
Yeah.
Like, he's really good about that, and I appreciate that in a public figure.
And what I liked about your interview is you knew the sheriff before he was a sheriff.
Yes.
And so you got to talk about all of that, and I think that's important in law enforcement that we have that kind of internal somebody who, like Jim Arnott, who has, because you're both Jim, has been in the area, around the area, didn't come into the position going, okay, I gotta meet everybody. I mean, he knew everybody.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
And I mean, for me, like I actually was with him and Major Phil Corcoran from the sheriff's office Saturday evening, and for a little bit, and we all got to talking about, what our starting salaries were, which you look back and you just shake your head. How did we live?
We've had,
right? But then, the really cool things, like Major Corcoran started as a reserve deputy, a volunteer.
Oh, that's cool.
I believe the sheriff started as a dispatcher.
Oh my gosh.
I started as a corrections officer.
Yeah. That's very cool.
And to see the way that department has grown under, particularly the sheriff and Major Phil Corcoran's tutelage, it's really cool.
That new jail I got to tour the other day. Who's the captain of the jail?
I think they've got about 3 or 4,
okay.
so I'm not sure who it is now.
I know him. His name escapes me right now, but I knew him from back when I was a prosecutor.
Dave Johnson?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
That's exactly who that was.
Yeah.
He gave
like
he
1,000
gave us,
Dave Johnson in Springfield. I'm like,
this
which
is
one
the
is
Dave
it?
Johnson.
Oh, okay.
The one and only.
But he gave me and a couple of my court clerks a tour, and we met with the sheriff. There was something we were trying to see if we could do a little differently with the way our municipal courts that are in Greene County interacted with the sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
Got a tour of that new jail. Holy cow!
Yes,
it's pretty fancy.
I'm trying to figure out
fancy's
what I
probably
can,
not the right word.
Well, it's a little fancy.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to capture how I could explain that. And this is going to be a weird analogy, but the only way I think I can capture what that place is like is it's like I was going to say a cruise ship or but more like maybe a military destroyer. It's that big.
Okay.
It's that huge. It's handling that amount of people, and it's completely self-contained like a ship would be.
Weird.
Right.
And
thought about that.
And so
I don't even really know where it is. Where's it at?
it's
out
by the
West
airport.
Division, down by the airport.
Yeah, it's out by
Okay,
the
so I mean,
airport
I'm
now.
not out that way.
Next to the cemetery.
I was thinking just the other day that
Okay, I know where that is.
I could go visit this person in jail, and in my head, I'm at 110. 1010 Booneville. I'm like, oh no,
not so easily.
What's there now? Do you?
Yeah,
can
what
you
is
tell me
there?
what's-
I believe that I'm not 100%. I know that they've transferred or utilizing one floor of what was the old jail for juvenile detention.
Okay.
Juvenile detention used to be just like sheetrock walls and
Yeah.
very thin doors.
That's not safe.
And no, it isn't. So they had to make it safe for their staff.
Yeah.
I believe they're looking at the old sheriff's office will become courtrooms.
I was gonna say, where's the court? So is the court
So that
still?
would be the first floor.
Yes, sir.
Of the
actual courthouse building.
Justice Center.
Yes.
which is the one
And
on
then the
Boonville.
old jail.
Oh,
the
got
old
it.
jail,
In
I
the
think
judicial
they're-
center.
Yeah, the old jail. I think they're going to use I'm not 100% on it, but I think they're going to use for some county offices and things like that.
So all those pods are getting converted into offices?
With the exception of the floor being used for juvenile detention.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, man.
So I get to go in there to interview clients and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the layout of the old jail, which just, again, blows my mind because I remember the old jail.
Yes, me too. I worked in it.
The old jail.
Where if you met with clients, you met with them in the library,
Yes.
which was like if we shut all the lights off in here, would be about the. I mean, it was dark, it was dank.
Was there any reading happening in the library?
I think maybe.
Mostly books checked out.
Yeah, so yeah, we think of old jail. I think of the old jail.
Yes.
So I remember when this new one was built.
I didn't even realize the new one was like done and well, I probably did.
It's,
but
I mean, it's impressive.
I try to avoid jail, so I don't think
it's good policy.
I visited. We also took a tour, and I think that the thing that I give kudos to the leadership of the sheriff's office, and I have no I have no dog in the fight anymore, other than I'm part of the justice system still, but they actually listened to the employees that work day in and day out.
That's good.
On what works and what doesn't work.
That's good.
And they really implemented a lot of that, overwhelmingly.
That's
There's
very
a full
good.
medical clinic there that's staffed full time.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Well, yeah, we don't need to be spending money transporting,
No. Well, I mean,
inmates to
sometimes you have to
hospitals.
if it's
Yeah.
serious, but I mean, for a lot of stuff, I feel like they could probably
That's
handle
good.
it right there. It's,
They can.
I mean,
Very
it was
interesting.
very impressive to see that place.
Now, how many can it hold?
Ooh, I think 1,200.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's maxed out already. I'm
Yeah, I
sure.
was going to say, I
It's-
bet it is.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Of course, I remember when they built what is now the old jail, but it was the new jail, right,
Yeah.
in 2000. And it was supposed to be like, this was going to last us. It had 560 beds.
And it
or
was
600
full the day it opened.
And they were like, you won't fill this for years. And it was full within the first 3
So
months.
it's the Republic Road and Campbell intersection of the jail system. Remember, they always do. Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like
That's a really unique way of thinking.
this
of that, but
project
yes.
is going to fix we finish the project. It doesn't work anymore. We have to start with the new one because it's too busy.
The most interesting feature of the old jail, I thought, when they built it, was the fact that, and I can't believe they did this, the very front of that jail was a revolving door. I mean, there cannot be a worse symbol to put on your jail.
Oh, yeah,
for
that
the way
is
your
bad.
justice system works is to have a revolving door
Yeah.
in your jail. I mean, it's just.
There was that. Until you just said that, I honestly had never thought of it like that, but yeah.
It's like, because we talk about well, our justice system is just a revolving door, and like, boom, there it is. I mean, they actually built a revolving door on the jail.
Revolving door.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I was like,
goodness.
well, it's an interesting choice, but we'll go with that. It was pretty fun.
It's fun. Well, okay, so here's my question. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit.
Okay.
In your opinion, because I think people who are familiar with Springfield, who've lived in the area a long time, feel like it's changed a lot
Yes.
recently, and the past couple of years specifically. What can we do better, or are we just overwhelmed? Is there not enough people to do the jobs? What can we do better to kind of slow down some of the negatives that are coming with the big growth?
We build a wall. We need to build a wall.
No.
Build the wall.
No. So I will just say you use some of the terminology, and I'm that guy anymore, and maybe it's age, but immaturity, because I used to be the guy, let's lock them all up, that kind of mindset, and they rightfully earned being locked up, but I'm going to be honest, I still think Springfield and this area is a really good place.
Oh, it is.
So-
yeah, 100%.
I think what we've become so accustomed to, and I say this often, or as often as I get the chance, so I'll take the opportunity here, is we really are really good at focusing on the bad and the negative.
Yeah.
That's what we get fed.
Yeah,
Through social media.
100%.
Through the
Traditional media.
Through traditional media. We get fed the bad news.
Yep.
And what we forget is that's really a small portion of
Yep.
what's going on in the community or whatnot.
Yep.
And we don't pay attention to the good. It's the same in schools. The people that get attention are the misbehaving kids, which is typically less than 5%.
Yeah.
And we forget that the overwhelming majority of our population are really good people.
Have you,
Yeah.
by any chance, had the opportunity to on your podcast interview Ethan or Sarah Forhetz?
I have not.
You might reach out to them. I'm
Okay.
not telling you what to
I've
do.
had, I think the only traditional media person I've had is Joy Robertson.
Okay, yeah.
And she was great.
Yeah, Joy's great. But Ethan and Sarah, I think, are doing a really good job of actually trying to fix that. They've got their podcast out.
Okay.
I need to start watching that or listening to
yeah,
that,
I listen to it every
Yeah.
morning. It's called it Around the Ozarks in 5, but then they were always going 10 or 15 minutes. So I think
Sure.
they dropped the in the 5, or they call it 5-ish. But you'll get your headlines. You get a little bit of commentary from them, and they've got values that align with most of Southwest Missouri, so it's helpful. But then I think they try to pull out the positives as well. So I would tell people grab that podcast and put that in your morning listen routine as well.
I always like reading. SPD does the police spotlight every day. I always like reading that.
Yeah,
I enjoy
somebody
that.
compliments an officer or
Yeah.
a staff member.
They put it on Instagram, I think, and Facebook. But
Yep.
I appreciate that because I think it humanizes police. And police tend to get a bad rap for really, it's not their fault that they have to do their job. But I always enjoy that. I think that's a good thing to do.
I agree.
Well, your topic before about lock them all up or all that stuff. My opinion really kind of has become you gotta decide what you're going to be, and you can't have it both ways. I really feel like that in a small county, like say Webster County. I don't know you could do it in Greene County, but in Webster County, we could take the position. No, we're locking everybody up. We're going to be the nastiest, harshest, most unreasonable place to commit a crime in Southwest Missouri.
Right.
And I think that would work.
I think in a small county it has potential.
Because
yeah.
I know that there is the criminal chatter underground, because I know when I was a prosecutor and basically because of the jail situation and other things, there was kind of a catch and release policy on all of our warrants and arrests. I mean, nobody was staying in jail at all.
Right.
The word got around, and
Absolutely.
criminals knew I can do basically anything short of murder, and I'm not going to be in jail. I will get out on bond.
Yeah.
And the word got around, and it was bad for a while until we fixed it. So I think that if you could build a reputation in your small county, it's like, man, don't go there.
Yeah.
Don't go there. I think it would work. I think you'd push everybody out to the surrounding counties, but it would take a while, and it would be tough to do that. Although I will say that in my now 25th or 7th year of being an attorney, I have found that the most effective way to get things done is to be completely irrational. Just unreasonable. Completely unreasonable. Because everybody wants to negotiate everything to death.
Oh my gosh.
And you just go, screw it, I'm not doing it. This is what I want, or we're going to trial.
Yeah.
And the other thing I found out is lawyers these days are scared of trial. I mean, we went to court all the time. I mean, I try 5-6 cases a day.
Yeah.
When I was a prosecutor,
Sure.
and sometimes as a defense attorney, we'd do more than one. I remember doing 3 trials in one day as a defense attorney.
Right.
And lawyers just want to negotiate and work it out, which if you can, great.
But sometimes you got to go to trial.
Sometimes you got to go to trial, and one of my favorite recent negotiations. It's been years, but we were fighting over the money,
Yeah.
And my guy was the bad guy. He was the one who was going to have to pay if this thing went wrong. I think it was. They were wanting $750,000, and we said, well, we'll give you 50. No, I think we said we'll give you 100. They said, that's unreasonable, we're not doing that, blah, blah, blah. And they spent all this time and all this stuff, and they came back and said, what do you want to settle it? I'm like, yeah, we'll settle it. What's your offer? 75. Like, what do you mean? You offered 100 before. I'm like, yeah, that was before. It's 75 now. If you don't like that, and the next one's going to be 50. And they took the 75.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
that's not the way you're supposed to negotiate. I don't care. That's the way I negotiate.
People get too, we've said this a lot recently, people get too hyper-focused on winning an argument, and you get to a point where you've argued so much, nobody's winning. Like, if it's that damaging and that intense and that bad and that long and drug out, nobody wins in the end.
Well, do you think that we've gotten to the point? I think that it goes back to your reference of Mike Tyson's quote that people have gotten really comfortable saying whatever they want to say without getting punched in the mouth for it.
Yes.
And I think that we've gotten away from the ability to have a discourse with each other that is disagreeing in nature. Mm-hmm. And still be able to shake hands and respect each other again. It has gotten very, personal. It's easier to pick apart someone personally than pick apart the argument that needs to be made.
Well, I was going to say,
a really good point.
It always devolves into name calling.
Yes.
You're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a phobe. This, and it's like, wait a minute, we can't have a conversation then. I mean, if you're going to so devalue me as a person because of my opinion that differs from yours, we're never going to get to resolution or solution.
I had somebody pull the lawyer card on me a couple weeks ago. You know, they said, "Well, I'm going to talk to my lawyer about this." I said, "Then we're done talking."
Of course,
you can't say things like that to me and not expect me. I'm not just. You can't just throw words out there without consequences. And social media has just
very much so
blown that up. I mean, people just throw words constantly, and it's like they do damage.
Well, I think the truth of that lawyer card thing is, you know, if 10 people say, I'm going to call my lawyer, I'm going to talk to my lawyer, or I have talked to a lawyer, 9 out of 10 of them are lying.
Oh, 100%.
They're not going to. They Googled it.
It's just a word they're
never
throwing.
talked to
It's
a
a
lawyer.
word that they're throwing out there.
So
and
I
you
tell
have to
people
be
all the
careful
time.
with your words.
I tell people all the time, until a lawyer shows up, there's no lawyer.
Yeah, no.
There's no lawyer involved. And when the lawyer does show up, probably things are going to get better. Because the lawyer is going to come out with potentially a cooler head. Now, some of these new lawyers haven't gotten there yet. they're still itching to win one.
What did I say earlier? Experience and maturity?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, they've come up through a system that's teaching you need to win arguments, and you got to battle, and you got to not just argue, but you got to throw everything at them. I mean, you got to bring out the claws, and you really got to rip into somebody personally. And it's like, that is not how people used to argue and debate topics and have conversations about disagreements. That's not how that used to work.
I read a demand letter the other day that was written to somebody, and they gave it to me to see how they should respond, or if I would respond for them. And it was written by a lawyer, and it was to a civilian, non-lawyer. And it was just insulting. You know, it was just, you did this, and you're a horrible person, and that's not going to fly, and blah. I'm like, come on, man. I mean, you know, write like, hey, here's what my client says. Here's where we believe you're wrong. Here's what we think we can do to fix it. So go forward. But it doesn't have to be this name calling, insulting. You're a horrible, deceitful business person, and it's like, that's not how you're not going to get it that way anywhere.
No.
Anyway.
No.
Because you immediately put people in a position where they want to fight. They want to fight with you. And I've written very few demand letters in my life, but I've never written them that way. I'm always like, listen, there's a problem we need to solve.
Yep.
Right.
And help me solve it. And I said to someone, I said, why are you always so? I said, well, I always like to get on the same side of the table with somebody. And they're like, why? I said, well, if I have to, it's easier to stab them because they're right next to me. So if I can get on the same side of the table, first of all, we've got a better chance of working it out. And
I'm just gonna go la la la.
If not, I'm in.
Oh, there's a famous quote that runs around our office. I'd rather get stabbed in the front than stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is. It's like,
I'm talking side.
Stick. Yeah. Yeah. See, we talk about random stuff on this show.
You definitely talk about random stuff.
So on your show, do you try to keep people on topic, or you just let it go?
So no, I try and keep them. Ultimately, I just want them to share their story, right?
Yep.
Their personal story.
Yep.
How they arrived at wherever they're at this point. So, yes, I had Will on, who is a prosecutor and a public defense attorney that I've known for 20 plus years. But remarkably, I think the thing that blows my mind is the people I've had sitting across from me. So I've had retired police officers. I've had the sheriff on. I've had doctors, nurses. I've had convicted felons that I've chased.
That's awesome.
And that are reformed.
That's really cool.
And then I prosecuted.
That's really cool.
And those are two, 3. How many times did you interview him?
Paul got interviewed twice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Barry got interviewed once. But when you have these former meth cook, drug addicts, car thieves, right? Prolific car thieves. Barry was, in my opinion.
He was really good at his job.
He was really good. But when you have people like that, and you knew without a doubt that if it came down to you and them on a dark county road, it might not end so well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then Barry Agee sits across from me in the interview and says, hey, man, I just want you to know I love you.
That's awesome.
Right?
That's really
cool. And it becomes almost emotional.
Yeah.
And we've had, I've been fortunate through knowing Paul and Barry that I've had a lot of people from that Freeway Baptist that really works with faith reform.
That's great.
People. And it's been those are usually, I call them my Reformation interviews, but because they're really cool. But I mean, I interviewed my dad and mom and learned things.
That's awesome.
Right? And it's just really cool.
That'd be fun.
My wife will tell you, she can tell when an interview's good because I'm at the end of it, I'm almost like on a high.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy cow, that was fun.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool. That's really cool.
And it's one of those things where like we sat there for an hour and a half and it just flies
Just goes by.
Yeah.
It is amazing when you just get to talking to somebody how fast time goes. And I mean, it's so important to get in and have those conversations face to face, be in the same room with people, communicate, and that's truly where you learn things and get some stuff done.
Yeah.
100%.
Sure is.
And I am sold on face-to-face. I have yet to do one via Skype, Zoom, or FaceTime.
Yeah.
And I could. I've got friends all over the country that have worked for, kind of super secret agencies and now don't and can give vague interviews, if you will, that would be really cool.
Do they know about aliens?
Some of them might, but I have, and other friends that are special operations guys all over the world that would be like, yeah, I'll do it. Let's set it up. And I'm like, I really like that in-person touch.
Yeah.
You've had Imes on, right?
I have had Steve Imes on.
I haven't listened to that one yet, but
Steve is
an
just,
interesting dude.
he's such a, I felt like I was inferior because he's such a pro at interviewing and speaking, right? So, I mean.
He's a pro at a lot of things.
Yes. But he gave some really interesting perspectives on policing during this time that were really cool.
He was, I met him, I don't know, I was probably 16.
I was going to say you were probably a youngster back because that was when your dad was over there, right?
That's right. Yeah, Dad was, I don't know, a lieutenant or maybe a sergeant, I don't know, at SPD, and Steve was like on his squad or something. I think Steve was a corporal, and he taught. I had to get like a first aid badge for Boy Scouts. Like 10 minutes. I was in Boy Scouts, and he taught the class, and so that was when I met Steve back then.
Yes.
He is what he is. So.
Yeah, he genuinely is that good.
Yeah, he really is. So
it's cool.
Let's hit Rogersville just real quick. School's kicking off here in a
School's
little bit.
kicking off. We had a really successful shoe drive on Saturday.
Yeah,
we had about 300 people come through and get shoes. Yep, we provide basically new shoes and hygiene items, and the local churches get together and provide backpacks and school supplies to anybody who needs it. And I think I call them the church ladies. The church ladies said that they had, which is not a derogatory term.
That's special.
Like amazing. Yeah. They had like 150 some cars come through. Of course, many cars had multiple people in them to give away the backpacks and the school supplies. And what was left was taken over to the schools. And then they came to the FEMA gym. And like I said, I think it was like right at about 300 shoes went out the door.
50 new employees at the school.
Yes, I saw that post yesterday. Rogersville's got 50 new employees that they're training. Whoa, that's a bunch.
And they all got a Worsham Law Firm multi-function pocket knife.
Pocket knife. Don't take that through TSA. I learned that. Do you have any knives, weapons? No, I don't. Here's your pocket knife. Oh, my lawyer gave that to me. That's what I said. I'm really lucky I didn't get further searched after that. Well, luckily that happened in a small airport where they thought it was funny. I think it was like in Joplin.
Oh, was it? I was going to say Springfield. We have a great airport.
I think it was Joplin.
I
really do. I mean, it was like the person checked you in when you walked in, and then that station closed. Then they walked over to security and did that too. It was like the same 5 people. So
I love in Springfield's like somebody shows up for pre-check, which I had for a while when I was flying a lot, and it's like oh, and they shut down the regular line and they go over and check you through pre-check, and everybody else is just like, damn gummit,
jerk. Yeah, there's this huge long line for regular check-in. Yeah, and there's 2 people for pre-check. And the big long line gets ignored.
Yeah,
it's awesome. All right, Jim. Any parting shots you want to give us? Plug that podcast again. And
hey, no. First and foremost, thank you guys for having me. This has been cool. Will said it very quickly when we were talking on my podcast that he goes, I need to get you out there. And he just really he's proud and rightfully so of this studio. It's a neat thing. This is a neat setup. Mm-hmm. And for folks that don't understand, I said it earlier, I look around and I'm like, wow, they got really, really cool equipment. Because, I mean, for folks that understand, I run mine off a laptop and a USB microphone.
Yeah, I love it.
That's how we started.
Right? So, yes. I mean, but no, if you'll listen, the podcast is the No BS with Jim Farrell podcast. And we almost exclusively interview the local people. I mean, I'm open to others, but, they got to be in person.
Yep.
That's good. I like it. Very cool.
No, seriously, give it a listen. you'll enjoy it. You'll hear a lot of neat things from a lot of neat people and hear from Jim. So that's good. But
very good.
we'll land this plane for today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Really, this was awesome.
We would have you back.
Oh yeah, come back anytime.
I'd come back.
You did
Yeah.
all right. Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. More Morning Waffle.